If you're interested in weight loss, hormonal balance, health span, or lifespan longevity, you've no doubt heard all the chatter about Zone 2 cardio.
Zone 2
cardio.
It is phenomenal for your heart health.
Can enhance our other aspects of fitness.
Can help reduce stress.
Is the most important place to be training your mitochondria. Is one of the hallmarks of aging.
Zone 2 cardio is being recommended by medical doctors, personal trainers, and even the WHO. But most people I talk to, number one, they don't know what Zone 2 is. How do they calculate it? Number two, they're worried they need some expensive watch or chest strap to be able to get into Zone 2. That's not true. And thirdly, probably most importantly, people either don't want to run because they hate it, or they can't run because their knees hurt too much. If you can relate to anything that I've been sharing with you, this video is for you. Hey, my name is Lucas. I'm a yoga teacher and trainer. Big part of my work right now is focused on what I call health span, living your best life in the second half. Not trying to win awards, not trying to become a bodybuilder, just trying to focus on mobility and strength so you can stay active, pain-free, and mobile well into the second half of life. With that in mind, Zone 2 cardio really serves as a keystone, as a bedrock for everything that we do. It's really, really great for hormonal health, specifically insulin sensitivity. It's excellent for your circulation, your immune system, and it helps to establish something called cardio respiratory fitness, your heart and your lungs working together. This is often measured with something called VO2 max, and Zone 2 cardio is crucial for your VO2 max.
Think about building a pyramid. The VO2 max is the height of the pyramid. The key for building a high VO2 max is saying, I'm going to spend about 80% of my aerobic training time in Zone 2.
A lot of people emphasize high intensity interval training, and that can play a role. We might talk about that another day, but a much bigger part of your VO2 max is low intensity, steady state cardio, which we'll get into today. For many of us, when we think about getting in shape, we think about training for a marathon, or we think about boot camp, hardcore exercise, and there's a time and a place for all of those. But when you're in the second half of life, if you haven't exercised in a while, if your knees hurt, or if you're just looking for something that's extremely sustainable, Zone 2 cardio is really a magic bullet for many people. When you start to dig into the research around Zone 2 cardio, really quickly you find it's one of the safest, most accessible, and long-term, lifetime sustainable activities to reduce hypertension, to manage your body weight, to improve your mood, to reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and all-cause mortality. And you don't really need any formal training, you just get out there and start walking. Zone 2 cardio is in reference to the heart rate zones. There are 5 of them, and Zone 5 is like an all-out sprint, like your heart beating out of your chest. And Zone 2 is about 60 to 70% of your heart rate max. This is a brisk walk or a light jog. It's a pretty comfortable way to exercise, and you'd be surprised how beneficial it is. Okay, so we're moving around more, we're walking more, maybe we're aiming for 7,000 or 8,000 steps per day, but how do we know if it's actually working? How do we know if we're even in the Zone 2 at all? First thing to talk about is how to calculate your Zone 2. Here's the math equation. Take the number 220 and subtract your age. So I'm 45, so 220 minus 45 gives you 175. Take 175 and multiply that by 0.7 or 70%. And that gives me around 122 beats per minute. That would be the upper limit of my Zone 2 heart rate. Now I know some of you are saying, numbers, I don't know what any of that means. If you have a smartwatch like I do, an Apple Watch, a chest strap band, you can use that to know your upper limit and keep track as you're exercising. If you don't have one, don't worry, there's another way that's just about as accurate and much, much simpler. It's called the talk test. When you're doing a weighted walk, an inclined walk like we'll talk about in a moment, or a light jog, you simply want to be doing a level of exertion where you can hold a conversation without your voice sounding like you're running. If your voice is gasping for air and it's very clear that you're under strain, you're probably pushing outside of your Zone 2. Zone 2, as a reminder, is this low intensity, moderate, I like to call it forever pace cardio. Meaning if you were to start off walking or jogging right now, obviously you wouldn't go forever, but if your goal was, let me pick a pace that I could conceivably, if I had to, go forever, that's about the rate that we're looking for. Once you've established your rate, what you're looking for is about 30 minutes a day, 5 days per week. So a total of about 150 minutes per week. Now, if you're so inclined, you could stack that and do longer sessions here or there. You could also spread it out and do shorter sessions more often. But around 150 minutes per week is generally agreed upon as a really great base for your Zone 2 cardiorespiratory fitness routine. The moment you mention cardio, almost everyone thinks of jogging or running, and that can work if that works for you. The next thing that people think about is cycling, and that might work for you. Here's what I've experienced. Most of my clients, if they do a lot of jogging, a lot of running, their knees hurt. It's just a reality of being in the second half of life. Here's what I found for myself and most of my clients. Cycling, while a really great workout, for many people, they can't quite get up into a zone 2, or at least they can't hold it consistently without really exerting themselves. For that reason, for many people, I recommend doing an inclined walk. There are a number of different ways to do this. You could go hill climbing, you could find a hike, you could find a staircase. I like to do it with a treadmill. I know people find treadmills boring, and I used to find them boring as well. But as a training tool, it's really invaluable because you can set it and forget it. You can choose an incline, you can choose a speed, you can check your heart rate or do that talk test. You can get yourself into a zone 2, get your 30 minutes in, and be done with it. This is probably a new way of working out for many of you. Most of us push too hard, too infrequently. The goal here is to be gentle more often. Let's go inside the gym and let me show you how it works. So to give you a starting place for a zone 2 inclined walk, I'd like you to start up your treadmill and put your incline at 8%, which is pretty steep. It won't feel like much when you first start, but you'll notice the difference right away. So I've got an 8% incline, it's adjusting now. And now we'll start off with 5 kilometers per hour, which is kind of a normal to brisk walking pace, but with that incline, probably you will feel it. If you have a heart rate monitor, either a chest strap or a watch like I'm wearing, you could actually see if you're in a zone 2-ish rate. If you don't have one, don't worry. I'll show you a way to estimate whether you're in a zone 2 in just a moment here. So I'm at 4 kilometers per hour, and now I'm going to increase my speed to 5 kilometers per hour, which at this incline will feel like a brisk walk. So here I am walking up a hill. I'd like to be at what we'll call a forever pace, meaning a pace that I could conceivably hold forever. We won't do it forever, we'll aim for about 30-minute session, but you should feel as if you could keep going forever. In terms of the talk test for a zone 2 cardio, if you were to get a phone call right now, the idea is you'd be able to fake your voice that you weren't exercising. Meaning if you're really focused, you'd be able to confuse the person you're talking with and they wouldn't know that you're on a treadmill. If you go above a zone 2, it's pretty much impossible. You would talk and gasp for air and talk and gasp for air. It's a fine line, but that talk test is a pretty good estimation. So at this incline and at this pace, I'll hold this for 30 minutes and that will be my zone 2 cardio for today. Hope you found that video helpful. I'd love to hear your feedback down below, what you do for your zone 2 cardio, what form you prefer, whether it's jogging or cycling or these inclined walks like we talked about. I want to ask of you is if you find this video helpful, hit subscribe down below, just takes a moment, really helps me out. I'll put a quick PDF reference down below as well with some of the math calculations and some simple references for the exercises and options that we covered. If you'd like to train with me, I have a program called YOGABODY Daily where we do strength and stretching, and yes, steps, zone 2 cardio every single day. And you can find that at yogabody.com. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.